Okay, so yesterday we began the sugya of Shomrim. We began Perek HaShoyel, and then we know that we said there's three distinct parshiyos. The first one is the parsha of Shemachinam, and there it doesn't mention anything about Chiyuv of Geneva Aveda. It simply says he swears that he wasn't Shalech Bayad. The second parsha is the parsha of Shemesacha, and there it says the putur. The putur is an oinus, whether it's an oinus of miso or breaking or even captured, and then you swear. However, im gonev yigonev, you'll be chayiv for geneva. We said the svara you should be chayiv for pshia, for aveda. Now by shoyel it says if it's nishba or mace, you're chayiv. If there's no putur of bolav imoy, you're going to be chayiv. And we use the oy to go ahead and include nishba that's stated by Shemesacha. How do you know Geneva Aveda by Shoyel, guys? Again, but you know as a fait accompli because you're familiar with the halachis, but where in the pasuk does it tell me that I'm chayiv b'Geneva Aveda by Shoyel? And that's what the Gemara is going to go ahead and ask right now. So we'll be referring back to this parsha as we go along, as we did yesterday, but by now you should know it. Okay, 4 lines down, Tzadik Hey Amid Aleph. Geneva Aveda b'Shoyel minala, and how do you know that a Shoyel is chayiv b'Geneva Aveda? You'll say Yechayev ba'onis. In other words, we know it says Mefurish in the Torah that a Shoyel is chayev for if it breaks or it dies. So therefore, I should be chayev for Geneva Aveda. You'll ask Malishvura Mesa, Tlayevshel the Mitzrach Vasuyei. It's too late. The owner can't go ahead and get it back. Maybe the owner tries hard enough. Since it's in the world, it's just stolen or lost. Maybe he can get it. Maybe therefore the shoyel will be public. So you can't learn out. Geneva Aveda from minus. I mean, there's no backsies over here where it's possible to go ahead back and get it. Perhaps in that case, what? Perhaps in that case you would be a putter. It says v'nishba oy mace. So this is by the parsha of Shoyel. It says v'nishba, it breaks. Or mace, or it dies. Ainli ella shvura umesa. That tells me only what if it breaks or dies. Geneva Aveda minai. And how do you know what Shoyel is describing Geneva Aveda? Kenny Tzadik Hey Amid Aleph, about 8 lines down. Shvura mesa Geneva Aveda minai. And how do you know a Shoyel is describing Geneva Aveda? Amid kal v'chaymer. It's a kal v'chaymer. Uma shemesacha. Shepata mishvura mesa. A shemeschata, that's pata ba'oinsin. Chayiv b'Geneva Aveda is chayiv b'Geneva Aveda. Shoyel shechayiv b'shvura mesa. A shoyel that's chayiv b'einsin. Einay din is another kal v'chaymer shechayiv b'Geneva Aveda. Now this kal v'chaymer is ironclad. We say who kal v'chaymer shein alav tshuva. This is the kal v'chaymer. There's no pircha. So again, what's the kal v'chaymer? Ma'adach is shemesacha. That is pata b'Geneva Aveda, guys. Shvuras Hashem in Kiyashma Umesai Nishba, he swears if what? He swears if what? If it died, he's swearing, he gets off the hook. But then gone it. But he's chayiv for Geneva Aveda, a shoyel which is Nishba Mace is going to pay. Ein idin is chayiv for Geneva Aveda. And this kal v'chaymer is ironclad. There's no question you can ask in this kal v'chaymer. The Chitamer says the Gemara. I can ask the following question: if he would go ahead and claim that it was stolen by an armed guard, swear to that fact, and then admit that it didn't, he'd pay kefil. Masha'inking by shoyel, you don't pay kefil, and therefore shoyel is less chama than shemachinam, and maybe you're part of the Geneva Aveda. Says Gemara, filohachi karne the shoyel. The karna of the shoyel who would taina list the mizillion, and he pays the keren, the principal, without any shvua. The fact that it's a given that he's going to go ahead and pay the keren is adifa. That's ma'odif. So therefore, that's not a question that shoyel should be part of Geneva Aveda because it's not shayach to kefel, because the vaday paying of the keren is more chama than the case of toyin tainis. List the mezuyim and then swearing to that and then finding the list the mezuyim. So therefore, we have a kal v'chaymer. How do you know that a shoyel is chayiv b'Geneva Aveda from Shemesacha. Madach Shemesacha is Pata Ba'insin Chai B'Gnei Vaveda. Shoyl that's Chai Ba'insin ain't idea that why is Chai B'Gnei Vaveda ironclad. Ibay is saying another teretz that why a shoyl is more chomer. Ksava listening Mizuyan Goslin. Who if it's a Goslin doesn't pay kefel, so there's no sad chomer of Shemesacha whatsoever, since he's only going to pay Keren, because he listening Mizuyan is not a ganif. Only a ganif pays kefel. Listening Mizuyan is a Goslin. He doesn't pay kefel. Now, Ashkekin L'chiyuv. You found Geneva va'aveda that it's chayiv from our kal v'chomer. Lifter minalan. Okay, this is really a very good preparatory statement, guys. V'chiyishal ish me'im re'ehu. If a man borrows from his friend, v'nishba, and it breaks, oy mace and it dies, but olav ein imay, if the owner is not with him, shalem yishalem, he'll pay. Now, this is the patur of bolav imay. Where's the patur stated, guys? It's stated by the chiyuv of Einstein. How do I know the geneva v'aveda, which is not stated by Shoyal, which is learned out from Shemesacha, that the patur of bolav imo applies to that as well? Again, bolav imo is going on the stated patur, the stated chiyuv, nishba oimes. We're learning geneva v'aveda by Shoyal from a kal v'chomer. How do you know the patur of bolav imay if the owner is working for him and then it's stolen or lost that you pater? I would say only what's stated, which is einsin. But geneva v'aveda, which is a limud from Shemesacha, perhaps there the patur of bolav imay does not apply, and you would be chayiv. Fred the Gemara Kasha, Ashken l'chiyav. I learned from the Gezer Kal V'Chomer, from Shemesacha to Michayev b'gnei v'aveda. Lifter minalan. How do you know the patur? How do you know the patur of bolav imay? The chitamen, if you're going to say neilef mishvuru mesa, I'll learn it out from shvuru mesa. Just like einsin, you have the patur of bolav imay. So to geneva aveda that a shayl is chayiv in, you have the patur of bolav imay. Malish shvuru mesa shekein einis. You know why shvuru mesa you have the patur of bolav imay? It's an einis. Mashenkin geneva v'aveda, which he is more responsible for. Maybe you don't have the patur of bolav imay. As I Fred the Gemara. Guys, we're good.
But the bolav imo is only by Yisrael. It doesn't mention that by Shemesacha.
We're asking by a shoyl. How do you know by a shoyl that the patur of bolav imo is going on geneva v'aveda? In other words, the shoyl, the pasuk says the shoyl is chayiv b'oinsin. Is a shoyl chayiv b'gnei v'aveda? Yes, we just said the claim from Shemesacha. Fred the Gemara, the patur of bolav imo is only stated by the stated. It's only stated by the words nishba oimes. It's not the Geneva Aveda is not stated. It's limud. How do you know the patur of bolav imo by Shoyal is on the Geneva Aveda of Shoyal? That's the Gemara's kasha. How do you know that? How do you know that? Ella gama mishemesacha. You'll learn it out from Shemesacha. Now, has she just mentioned that what? Has she mentioned that the patur of bolav imo is only by Shoyal? That's until we got to this Gemara. Shemesacha also has the patur of bolav imay. He learned that from Shoyal. So now, just like Shemesacha, it says Geneva Aveda. You pata what? You pata bolav imay. Who had din Shoyal will be pata from Geneva Aveda. Again, let's use the. Okay, so now. This patur, guys, of bolav imay, we're going to see applies to this parsha as well. It applies to Shemesacha. Good. Now, by Shemesacha, the chiyuv is geneva v'aveda. So, if the Shemesacha is chayiv for geneva v'aveda and is pata for bolav imay, who adin the shoyel that you learned out from Shemesacha has the patur of bolav imay by geneva v'aveda. Are we good? One more time. We're going to learn in a second that the patur of bolav imay that it's stated by Shoyal in parsha number 3 applies to parsha number 2. What's the chiyuv in parsha number 2? It's Geneva Vaveda. So now the Gemara is suggesting, just like Shemesacha is put the Geneva Vaveda, if Balavimai, who adin Shayel is pata Geneva Vaveda in Balavimai. That's what we're suggesting right now. That'll be the Patur. You have the Patur of Balavimai applying. Okay, so it says the Gemara learned from Shemesacha. The Shemesacha Gufaminalan. How do you have Shemesacha that has the Patur of Balavimai? Gar michiyuvay de Shemesacha, michiyuvay de Shayel. We'll learn at the chiyuv of Shemesacha from the chiyuv of Shayel. Mala halan by Shayel, b'bailam pater. Afkan by Shemesacha, the chiyuv of Geneva Aveda, b'bailam pater. Now, b'may gomer, what's the vehicle of learning that out? If learning out Shayel from Shemesacha. Ibn Metzinu, if you're going to learn from Metzinu, ikal mefrik kedarkina shkeinoinis. What are you going to learn? Guys, look at me. Just like Shayel has the Patur of Bol of Imo on its chiyuv, so too Shemesacha has the Patur of Bol of Imo on its chiyuv. 1 second. Where's the Patur of Shayel on a Noinis? Where's the chiyuv of where's the Patur of Shemesacha on Geneva Aveda? It's a much more starker svara to say Oinus was out of his hands, so the Torah was lenient and gave him the Patur of Bol of Imo. But Geneva Aveda, which he's much more responsible for, maybe there is no Patur of Bol of Imo. So if you want to learn the chiyuv of Shayel from the chiyuv of Shemesacha, I can't do that because the chiyuv of Shayel makes sense. You have the Patur of Bol of Imo. By Shemesacha, it doesn't make sense. Says the Gemara, even in Metzia eklomifrek kiderchina shekeinoinis. Elo amakra, the pasuk says, v'chi yishal vav moisef al inyan mishayin v'yilmoid el yitachtain. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a limud. We're going to have a limud. Here's our limud. Here's our limud. I have the chi yishal ish. The vav over here is going to connect it to here. The vav over here is going to connect it to here. So just like over here, the chiyuv of Geneva Aveda has the Patur of Bol of Imo, so too Shayel, which does not state Geneva Aveda, but is chayiv because of the Kal V'Chomer, has the Patur of Bol of Imo. So the vav goes ahead and connects this parsha to this parsha. The chiyushal vav moisev al inyan mishayin v'yilmod elyon. We'll learn out what the elyon. We'll learn out the Shemesacha from Shayel. That just like Shayel has the Patur of Bol of Imo, so too this has the Patur of Bol of Imo. So now I'm learning out, guys. One more time. I know this has the Patur of Bol of Imo. This has the Patur of Bol of Imo. So just like over here, you have the Patur of Bol of Imo on its chiyuv, so too where it says over here the chiyuv of Geneva Aveda, you have the Patur of Bol of Imo. So it's not a svara. It's not a svara that you can ask the kasha. This is a ninus and this is not. It's like a vav is meisif. So you learn out elyon, the upper parsha, from the lower parsha. Just like this parsha, the chiyuv of Oinus has the Patur of Bol of Imo, so too over here, the chiyuv of Geneva Aveda has the Patur of Bol of Imo. Fred the Gemara, v'akati shoyel mishemesacha loy gamar. You can't learn out what? Shoyel from Shemesacha. So now, guys, what did we learn out? We learned out the Patur of Bol of Imo applies by Shemesacha. But I can't learn out the Patur of what? Of Geneva Aveda from here to here. Why? Ela Geneva Aveda b'shoyel chiyuv minalon. So question, how do I know Geneva Aveda that it's not stated by Shoyel that you have the Patur of Bol of Imo? Says the Gemara, the Goyim Shemesacha, you'll learn that from Shemesacha, and Dayo love a minadin liyas kenidan. Ma Geneva Aveda the Shemesacha b'bailim pata, af Geneva Aveda Shoyel nami b'bailim pata. Okay, guys, where are we learning out the chiyuv of Geneva Aveda? We're learning out from Shemesacha. We're learning it out what from. We're learning it out what from Shemesacha, right? We're learning out that just like Shemesacha is Pata B'Einsin Chayav B'Gneva Aveda, Shoyel, which is Chayav B'Einsin Ein Adinish B'Chayav B'Gneva Aveda. Okay, now I have a Patur over here. I'm learning it, so that's a Kal V'Chomer, right? Now on the Chiyuv of Gneva Aveda, I have the Patur of Bol of Imo. So too, Dayolov Min Lias Kanidin. Shoyel, which I'm learning out from a Kal V'Chomer from Shemesacha, has the Patur of Geneva ve'aveda. I'll say it over one more time and maybe twice. Okay, let's not do the chart. You look at me. Here's a given. A given is that there's a Patur of Bol of Imoy by Shem Esacha. We learn that from Shail. Guys, that's one. Good? So Shem Esacha, if he's working for him and it's stolen or lost, he's Pata. Given. That's the Vav from Shail. V'chi Yishal. How do I know Shail is Pata from Chayib and Geneva Aveda? I learn it from a Kalvach Aime from Shem Esacha. Madach Shem Esacha, which is Pata be'Einsin, is Chayib and Geneva Aveda. Shoyel, which is Chayev B'Einsin, Ein Oidin, you should be Chayev B'Gneva Aveda. So if my source of the limud is Shem Esacha, then Shoyel has the same din as the Shem Esacha. And just like the Shem Esacha is Pata Bol of Imoy by Gneva Aveda, who adin the Shoyel that I'm learning out from Shem Esacha has the Patur of Bol of Imoy. Dayoyu livo min adin, it's enough that you learn out of a Kal V'Chomer, Liyo is Kenidin. That should be what? Like the source you learned it out from. Just like Shem Esacha, Yepata Bol of Imoy, and so too, Shoyel, which you learn out of Gneva Aveda from Shem Esacha, has the Patur of Bol of Imoy. That's the Muslim. Gemara asks the kasha now. Going back to Abba Kama days, there was someone who didn't learn Dayoy. Reb Tarfin, we said that Madach Shem Beregel, Apata B'Shus Rabim, Karen is Chayev and Rishus Rabim Chatzin Nezek, in a place where Shem Beregel Chayev Nezek Shalem Rishus Hanizik Einoi Din is not a Kal V'Chomer that Karen should be Chayev Nezek Shalem. That was his Kal V'Chomer. And we said, Dayo Lovamidin Lias Knidin. You're learning out from Karen Rishus Rabim, that's Chatzin Nezek. So who adin in Rishus Hanizik should be Chatzin Nezek. So Reb Tarfin does not hold of Dayo. Read the Gemara Kasha now. If that's the case, according to Reb Tarfin, how are we going to learn out the Betur of Geneva Aveda by Shoyel? You can't learn out from Shem Esacha. El Amakra, V'chi Yishal Vav Moisef Al Inyan Rishain, V'yilmoid Elyon Mitachtoin, V'tachtom Elyon. So now the pasuk, guys, is going to work both ways. We're going to go ahead and play. We're going to play this Vav V'chi Yishal. We're going to play it both ways. We're going to play it up and we're going to play it down. So now watch. I'm going to play it up that this has the Patur of Bol of Imoy. On what? On Geneva Aveda. And now I'm going to Vav and I'm going to learn out the bottom one from the upper one. Just like over here, it's Pat of Geneva Aveda. So to over here, it's Pat of Geneva Aveda. It's not a Svara. So this Vav is connecting, it's going bi-directional. It's going top to bottom and bottom to top. So from bottom to top, you're learning out the Patur of Bol of Imoy. And from top to bottom, you're learning out the Patur of Bol of Imoy by what? By Geneva ve'Aveda. Okay, so now, guys, if you look at the Parsha, there's three parshas, right? The first parsha is Shem Echinam. The second parsha is Shem Esacha. Third parsha is Shoyel. By Shem Echinam, it says you swear that you don't have it. You weren't Sholeach Yad. In other words, you weren't Pesheya and you're good. It doesn't mention Pesheya by here, and it doesn't mention Pesheya by here. Question: if you're working together with the owner and you're Pesheya, are you Chayiv or not? Is the Patur of Bol of Imoy apply to Pshia or not? We know it applies to Einsim. We know it applies to Geneva Aveda. Does it apply to what? To Shem Echinam. Does it apply to Pshia or not? Good? That's the question. Lav dafka Shem Echinam, it could even be Shem Esacha. Does it apply at all? Says the Gemara. Itmar. Pshia b'bailam. So Pligi bar Ravacha v'Ravina. Chadam Achayev. One says you don't have the Patur of Bol of Imoy. The Chadam Apata, you do have the Patur of Bol of Imoy. Manda Machayev, Kasava, the one who holds Chayev, holds what? Mikra Nidrash Lefanov, V'loi Lefanav. The pasuk of Bol of Imoy will only be applied to the parsha before. Here's that Patur of Bol of Imoy. I'm only going to apply it to the parsha before Shem Esacha. I will not apply it to the parsha before of Shem Echinam. So the one says you don't have the Patur of Bol of Imoy, holds that you'd only apply it to the one above, which is Shem Esacha, not the one above, which is Shem Echinam. Hilkach, in Balavimai Hashem Echinam like Siv. There's no Patur of Balavimai said by Shem Echinam. Upshia Nami b'Shem Esacha ub'Shaya like Siv. And it doesn't state in the second parsha of Shem Esacha or the third parsha of Shoyal, it doesn't say Pshia at all. Hilkach b'Shem Esacha b'Shoyal l'chiyav Asya b'Kavachayim b'Shem Echinam. Avo Bailim liftar af b'Shem Esacha. Okay, ub'Shoyal. Okay. Avo Bailim liftar af b'Shem Esacha ub'Shoyal. My timer kikasiv in ba'olav imoy lo yishalim. Ashel v'Hashem Esacha ahana chiyuvi tichsiv b'hu. The headya who the nichtav. Now, guys, it doesn't say over here pshia. It doesn't say over here pshia. How do you know yechayiv pshia? You learn it from a Kal V'chomer. Madach Shem Esacha is chayiv b'gnei v'aveda. Madach. Let's start the other way. Madach Shem Echinam, which is Pata b'gnei v'aveda, is chayiv b'pshia. Shem Esacha, which is chayiv b'gnei v'aveda, ein idin is chayiv b'pshia. Mal Shem Echinam, that's Pata b'einsin, is chayiv b'pshia. Shoyal, which is chayiv b'einsin, ein idin is chayiv b'pshia. Now, I'd ask any one of you, is a Shoyal or Shem Esacha chayiv b'pshia? You say, of course, right? Does it say it openly? No. Where does it say the Patur of Balavimo? Only what's written in the pasuk. What's written in the pasuk? Nishba, Umes, Ganav, and Aveda. So there, on those things that are written, we have the Patur of Balavimo. On that's not written. Pshia is not written by Shem Esacha, and it's not written by by Shayel. I don't have the Patur of Balavimo. That's the Gemara I just read to you very quickly. So therefore, this is the Man Amu who says that Pshia Yechayev. Because the source of Pshia is a Kal V'chomer, it's not stated openly, and therefore anything when the Patur Balavimoy is only that was stated openly, such as Gneva V'Aveda and Einsin. Pshia, which was not stated openly, which is learned out from a Kal V'chomer from Shem Echinam by Shem Esach and Shayel, and you didn't know one, you don't have the Patur Balavimoy. Now, man the Omar Pater, the one that says you're Pater, Ksavar, Mikra Nidrish, Lefanov. You'll go up one from Shoyal to Shem Esachar, Ulafani Fanav, and again you'll go up one more step to Shem Echinam. So the parsha of Balav Imoy is stated not only by parsha number 2, but parsha number 1. The Chiksiv in Balav Imoy, Hashem Echinam Namiksiv. It's said on Shem Echinam as well. Okay, so that's very easy. He's darshaning the Balav Imoy, Shayan Shem Esachar and Shayan Shlema Echinam. Now, we're going to ask on that Man Yamad. Manda says, Chayiv, we're going to ask. Tanan. Hashoyel para, the shol ba'ila ima. L'chayre, at the exact same time, you're going ahead that you borrow the cow, you're borrowing the owner. Hashoyel para v'sacha ba'ila ima, at the same time that you're going ahead and you are borrowing the cow, you're hiring the owner. So at the time of the borrowing, the owner was, in both cases, the owner was in your employ. Shol ba'leha oisachran. If first you borrow the owner of the cow, or you rent him out, the akach shol para, and then the para. In all these cases, when if it dies, pata, you're going to be pata. Why? Because at the time of the transaction, to go ahead and put the para in your rishus, the owner was working with you. Either it happened simultaneously, or he was working with you before. The Ila Shem Echinam, like Katani. It doesn't mention anything about what? Shem Echinam. It mentions the Patur of Sachran, right? V'akach shal apara. It mentions that, l'chayre he was working for you. It doesn't mention Shem Echinam. Well, Kaimech, Shem Esachanami, Mikatani. It only mentions Shayel guys. When it said Sleicher, it wasn't going on the cow, it was going on you. So you're telling me we only mentioned one thing. We mentioned Parsha number 3. We mentioned that you borrowed the cow. How the owner was working for you, whether it was for nothing or for a skayoim, that we did mention. But you can't ask a kasha that we didn't learn Patur of Baal Avimai by Shem Achinam. We didn't learn Patur Baal of Shem Esacha, the Patur of Baal Avimai by Shem Esacha. And we all know, everyone agrees, there's no machlokes, that the Patur of what? Of Baal Avimai does apply to Parsha number 2. It does apply to Shem Esacha. Ella, what do you have to say? Tana Milsa Amid Beis. Tana Milsa Dechsiva Behedya Kitani. Something that was written openly, right? You learned. Shoyal, you learned. The Asi Midrash like Kitani. In other words, if you look at the Parsha, guys, the only place it mentions Shema, the Shoyal, the Patur of Baal Avimai is by the Shoyal. The Chiyishal Ish, right? Here is the only place it mentions the Patur of Baal Avimai. It doesn't mention it here, and it doesn't mention it here. So that's why it's not that they don't have the Torah of Shema Chinam. We didn't mention Shema Sach either. The only reason the Mishnah mentioned it is because that's exactly in the Torah where it's written. Where it's not written in the Torah, we didn't mention, and therefore it's not a kasha on the Mandi Omer. It says that what, that a Shema Chinam is you don't have the Torah of Baal Avimai, because here clearly you see you don't have. We didn't learn it. We only learned something that's open, and clearly Shem Chinam is not stated openly. Pashma, Sha'ala, B'Shala Baila Ima. You rent it, and you lend the guy with it. Schara, you rent it, you rent the cow. B'Schara Baila Ima. And now, so now here's Shem Esacha, guys, right? This is Shem Esacha because you rented the cow. The Seicher is Shem Esacha. Shala V'Sachra Baileha Ima. Sachra V'Shal Baila Ima. In all these cases, the main point is, fellas, that the owner is working with the guy at the time of the transaction of the animal. Even if he's working in Poughkeepsie, Umesa, and the animal dies in New Paltz, Savrua Homani Pata Yapata. What's the kasha? Doesn't say anything about what Shem Echinam. It mentions nothing about Shem Echinam. And you can't tell me now that it doesn't mention Shem Esacha because she mentioned Seicher. So Savrua, the Bnei Yeshiva, who asked the question, held to say, Hamani, who's the Tan of this Brisa? Rabbi Yehudahi. Dama Seicher Kishem Esacha Dami. A Seicher is Seicher Dami. V'hahai Tana Ketani Milsa Dasi Midrasha. Shem Esacha is learned from Midrasha, that Bolavimai. The Ilu Shem Echinam like Ketani. So the Cheretz Kasha, like the Mandiamu, who says the Patur of Bolavima does apply. You see that it doesn't apply because it only learned 2 cases. The case of Shayel and Seicher, which is like Shem Esacha. So you see the Patur of Bolavima does not apply to a Shem Echinam. Now, Hamani, Remehi, Dama Seicher Shem Echinam, Dami. So, Einachinami, it says Seicher. So, and Seicher is what is Keshema Chinam. Seicher is Keshema Chinam. So, therefore, it's not a kasha because the Patur of Bolavima does apply. Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, the Tana Shem Eschinam v'hu adin l'Shem Esacha. Question 1: if it's speaking about a Shem Echinam, tell me a bigger chiddush. Tell me Shem Echinam, and I would know for sure Shem Esacha. Seicher is machlokes. You're telling me this is Reb Meir who holds Seicher is Keshem Echinam dami. So tell me the chiddush. Don't say Seicher. Tell me the following. If the person is a Shem Echinam and he borrows the cow, he's watching the cow and he lends himself out, if you're pata, certainly you'll be pata by Shem Esacha, but it doesn't say that. Iba Yisema, a teretz, Kidemachlef Rabba Baravua, Vatani Seicher, Ketzim Mishalim, Ramei Oim Keshem Esacha, Yehuda Keshem Echinam, right? Well, if you want, you could say that it's speaking. We had a shaila about Peshia B'Bailim. We said that we know there's a parsha of Einsim of B'Bailim is Pater. We know there's a parsha of Gneva Aveda, but Peshia it does not state openly. So that states openly Einis, Shvuru Mesa, Shvuya, or Gneva or Aveda, which we learned after the double lashon, we're going to be ignored. So that already we apply the Balavima, but Pshia not. That was one opinion. The other opinion, no, that just like there's a parsha of Balavima, just like there's a parsha of Balavima by Shoel, it goes to the parsha above that to Shema Sacha, and it goes to the parsha above that to Shema Chinam. So we're going to go ahead and darshan each one. We're going to darshan each one. So now, Tashma, let's start again. from Tzadik Hey Omid Beis, Tzadik Hey Omid Beis, Tashma. Shala v'shal ba'leha ima. If you go ahead and you rent the animal, you lend it, you don't rent. You borrow the animal, you borrow the owner with it. Sachra, you go ahead, and this is the key, because we're going to say a seicha is like a shem sacha. Sachra v'sacha ba'la ima. Shala v'sacha ba'la ima. Sachra v'shal ba'la ima. Afa pisha ba'lam oisim malach b'makam echad in one place. Umesa pata, you be pata. Savru de bnei yeshiva. Hamani is Rabbi Yehudahi, who holds that what the amat seicher is kashem esachadami, right? But high tana katani milsadesi midrasha vilu shemachinam like katani. He learned things that we learned out of midrasha, which is shem esacha. That is that you have the betur of bol of imay, and nonetheless, right? We don't learn shemachinam. Kashan the mani ama that says that the betur of bol of imay applies to shema chinam. You see, it doesn't apply to shemachinam. Says Gemara, Hamani Reb Meir, he entered the Gemara, Hamani Reb Meir, he dam esechek shemachinam dami. Betana shemachinam v'hu adin l'shem esacha. Very good. In other words, all the cases where you rented an animal, you're a shemachinam, and you have the betur of balavimai. So you have a raya that pshia b'bailim. We would say the betur of pshia b'bailim. So you kill two birds with one stone. Once you mention seichers shemachinam, the mela, of course, the betur of it includes shem esachar. And the mela, that's one teretz. This is I learned the wrong pshat the first time around. This is the correct pshat. Ibay same another teretz. Kid the machlef rabba baravua v'tani seicha kates mishalim. Rabbi Yomi mikashem esacha. Rabbi Yehuda mikashem mechino. If you want to go ahead and say like it's stam like Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Meir, then you can go ahead and say kashem mechino. But it's the same teretz. So you don't have a kasha, because when it says seicher, it doesn't mean shema sacha. Seicher means shema chinam. The betur of balavima would apply by all the three shemrim, all the four shemrim. Rav Hamnuna. Okay, so that's the end of that Gemara. Now we have Rav Hamnuna is going to say a chiddush. Now we said two things. We said that if the owner was with it at the time of she'ela, right, it doesn't have to be with it at the time of shvura mesa. As long he was hired, he doesn't have to be at that time of shvura mesa. In addition, he didn't have to be in the same place. It can be, like we said, he can be in Poughkeepsie, he can be in Newport, right? It can be in different places. Rav Hamnuna disagrees on two fronts. Rav Hamnuna disagrees on two fronts. Rav Hamnuna says no. Rav Hamnuna says that A, it has to be working in the same time, and B, it has to be in the same place. As we're going to see the Gemara. Amar Rav Hamnuna. Lo'ilam u'chayiv, lo'ilam the shoyal or would be chayiv, at shetei para v'chayrish ba. Right? If the para and he is doing the work with it, chamor u'machmer achrecha, the chamor and he's leading it, or you have to go following it. So two things. One, they have to be working together, and when they were hired, they had to be hired. What? Not only be hired, but he had to be there at the time of the accident as well, at the time of the misa. Alma ksava bolav imay akula milsa, says Rav Hamnuna that the pasuk of bolav imay is going on everything. It's going sai on the misa and sai on the nishba. You have to be there at the same time. Masav Rava she'ela from our Mishnah shoyla v'she'el b'bailim. If you borrow the animal and you borrow the owner, ima sachra v'sachra b'ila ima sachra v'shal b'ila ima shala v'sachra b'ila ima afa pisha b'ailim oisim malacha b'makam acher. Even though the baal is in one place, umesa b'makam acher, the baal is in one place and the is the other. Elashayim oisim malacha b'makam acher. Umesa in another place. Potter. My lab b'malacha acheres. This is not speaking b'malacha acheres. So not like you have Rav Hamnuna that has to be in the same malacha. Doesn't lie by some malacha. The same malacha. Same malacha. Ella my b'makam acher. So what does b'makam acher mean? If they're soon the same malacha, the kamar pei v'ozil kama. He is going before the animal is pulling a plow. He's going before the animal and he's using a hoe or some type of apparatus, a tool to dig the ground, to soften the ground, that when the coulter of the plow goes through, it's going to be easier. So they're working in the same place. Now, so therefore Rabbi Hamnuna is held serve because they're working in the same place, which is what he said, and in the same halacha. But the Sefer al Gaba, when the Sefer is speaking, they're working in the same place. It must be doing a separate malacha. The Tani Sefer, what does the Sefer say? Shola, if first you borrow the animal. V'yakach shola baileha, sachra, you rent the animal. V'yakach sachra baileha, ima, afa pisha bailam chorshim. Al gaba, even the baal is holding the plow on top of it, meaning it's working at the same time. Umesa chayev, you'd be chayev. Why? Because since you went ahead and hired the right, you hired the animal before the owner, it's going to be chayev. That's not balavima. Again, the Tur balavima is the time the animal comes into your rishus, the baal's already there. He could be there at the same time simultaneously, or he can be there employed before. He can't be before employed afterwards. All these cases, you have the animal before you have what? Now, and what's the chiddush? Even if they're mamish working together, even though you think, wow, ein balav imay gadol mizu, they're working together. No. Since you hired the owner after you hired the ox, or borrowed the owner after you borrowed the ox, whatever it is, you're going to be chayiv. Now, that's where we introduce working together. Mashma, the first case with the Reisha, they're not working together. So therefore, we want to restore the kashan of Hamnuna, that even though they're not they're in different places, you're still potter. Again, it's a much bigger chiddush to say they're in two separate places, you're potter, and a much bigger chiddush to say they're in the same place and you're chayev, right? Good. Says the Gemara. So when so the kashan of Hamnuna says the Gemara, Ami Reisha b'Seifa b'Oisem Malacha. Rav Nuna will answer you. The Reisha and Seifa are both speaking where you're what? Working together. Because again, like Rav Hamnuna, you have to be working together. The Reisha Ravusa Kamashmalon, the Reisha is telling us a Chiddush. The Seifa Ravusa Kamashmalon, and the Seifa is telling us a Chiddush. Reisha Ravusa Kamashmalon, the Alpha Gav, the Lav Al Gabo, even though the Reisha, he's not on top of the animal, meaning he's not leading the plow. He's separate from the animal, softening the earth with some type of a hoe or shovel, but it's still in the same malacha. Even the halve baila b'shas sheila, since the baal was there at the time of borrowing the animal, pater. The sefer of Usa Kamashmalon, the afagav dal gaba, even though he's on top of the animal, meaning really, literally, the plow right behind the animal, since the baal wasn't there when you hired the animal, chayev. Now, that's the Chiddush of Rav Nuna. So Rav Nuna wants to say, what's the Chiddush of the Reisha? Even though they're working together, the Baal, the owner, was simultaneously or in the employ before the animal, you potter. What's the bigger Chiddush, guys? To say they're working together or working separately? It's a much bigger Chiddush to say, even though they're working separately, if the owner was in his employ before the animal, that's what the Gemara is going to say. You're from Nuna, you're not making a lot of sense. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Haimai. If you're going to tell me the Reisha is speaking in a malacha, the Reisha is speaking in a totally separate malacha, the Seifa bois malacha, and the Seifa is speaking in the same malacha. My revusa, idi bois malacha have. I read that wrong. That's a chiddush. Guys, look outside again. I'm in separate places, totally. But when you borrowed my animal, I was already working for you. So despite the fact we're in separate places, it's still ba'olav imay. Conversely, the Seifa, even though you're working together, since the animal was borrowed before the owner, it's not ba'olav imay, even though they're working together. That would be a good chiddush. But if you're telling me the Reisha also is speaking where you're working together, and the Baal was in the employ, what's the chiddush? That doesn't need to be such a chiddush. You have both milas over there. The Baal was hired already beforehand, and you're working together at the same time. So therefore, that pshat from Nuna that you want to tell me is not holding water, says the Gemara. Ella, what do you have to say, right? Ella, if you're going to tell me the Reisha and the Seifa are speaking boisem malacha, my revusa, what's the chiddush? Idi boisem malacha have, right? They're both doing what? The same malacha. So l'chayre, this slugs up Rav Nuna's part that they have to be in the same malacha. Again, Rav Hamnuna said two things. Rav Hamnuna said they have to be what in the same malacha, and it has to be right that Rav Hamnuna said two things. They have to be in the same malacha, and the owner has to be there at the time of the she'ela, at the time of and he has to be there throughout the time. Again, guys, according to the Chachamim, if you would be hired, let's say, from on October 1st to the 15th, and you borrowed an animal on the 10th, and something happened to the animal on the 20th, you'd still be pata. Because when that animal was borrowed, you were in the employee already. Loit Ramnuna, you would be chayev, because you need the animal to be the owner and the animal simultaneously to be. So we slugged up the first part of Hamnuna that it has to be in the same malacha. Now we're going to slug up the second part of Ramnuna, that he has to be there from the time of being borrowed till the time of Shru Mesa. V'oid Tanya Mimashma Shnemar in Bolav Imoy Lo Yishalem. It says in the pasuk, if the bal is with him, you don't pay. Any idea the next pasuk, Shem Bolav Imoy Any Moy Shalim Shalem Matamalema Bolav Any Moy. In other words, the next pasuk says the inference. I only have over here one pasuk, guys. Unfortunately, I only have the last pasuk. Bolav ein imoy, the pasuk says, Bolav ein imoy, shalem shalem. If the bolav is not with him, you pay. And then the next pasuk says, and then the next pasuk says, in bolav imoy lo yishalem. Why do you have to say the next pasuk in bolav imoy lo yishalem? Why are you telling me both the positive and the negative? Why are you telling me both? Just tell me one, and I would know, right? That's what we're going to slug up Rav Hamnuna with. Says the Gemara. Since you tell in Bolav Imoy lo yishalem any yedei shem Bolav ein imoy shalim yishalem elamat hamalayim Bolav ein imoy loyim lecha hayimay b'shash she'ela, if he's with the owners with him on October 1st. Ein tzarich liyasima b'shash shvura, when the animal is hired on the 15th, and the owners and the owner stops on the 20th, and the animal gets killed or dies on the 25th, you still be pata. Why? Since he had a time frame from the 1st to the 20th where the owner and the animal were both in the jurisdiction of the shayel. Okay, so that's what it's teaching me. And the Gemara is going to ask how you know that. That's tomorrow's daf. But anyway, this is what the Gemara says now. So hayim b'shash sheila ain't tzarich liyasim b'shash shvura mesa. Hayim b'shash shvura mesa ain't tzarich liyasim b'shash sheila. Tanya idach, Rashi says there's no nafkamina. It's just mashmoy said drashos. There's no nafkamina in halacha. Tanya idach mimashma shenemar bolav eini moy shalim yishalem eini yedei shem bolav eini moy lo yishalem emat hamalayim and bolav imoy lo lecha kimin sheyotzes mirshus mashal sha'achas bebailim. Once the animal is in the jurisdiction with the shoyel, with the owner at the same time, and the bal came first, umesa, and it dies pata. So now this slugs up Rav Hamnuna's second. So again, Rav Hamnuna said two dinim. They have to be in the same place. That we slugged up already from a brisa that said that even though they're not in the same place, you're putter. And then we slugged up a second thing, that you have to be working from point A to point B. You just have to be working together at point A. Even though at point B, where the animal dies, you're not there, you'd still be putter. That's tiyufta Rav Hamnuna tiyufta. We slug up Rav Hamnuna. Now tomorrow, I'm not starting today's Gemara simply because it's going to go down halfway to daf. But tomorrow we're going to see that drasha when we just said the two psukim. How do you hear from that drasha that you just have to be in his jurisdiction at the time of she'ela, even though you're not there working at all for him anymore at the time of the patir of the animal?